There are many types of leaders. There is the movie star. He leads with charisma alone, all fluff but not much substance. He uses charm and sometimes good looks, white teeth, a great smile to influence others. He sounds good speaking in generalizations and platitudes, but follow him and you'll hit a dead end with no one to blame but yourself. Then there's the tyrant. He leads with a clenched fist, requiring adherence to his rules only, but with no explanation, no empathy, no guidance. He has no willingness to get into the trenches and do the hard work, the dirty work that he requires of others. Nobody follows him for long. Some lead with false promises and deception, possibly even criminal intent. We call them the con artist. If you follow this guy, you will end up in cell block C. I think effective leadership boils down to a few simple principles. 1, be honest. If you're not, when you're found out, you'll lose all credibility, and with those around you follow forever, and maybe you'll even lose much more. Be ethical. Practice high standards dictated within the context of your business. Think of others first, whether competitor, associate, or customer. It will create loyalty and similar attitudes in others. Be willing to do the work. Get involved. Don't ask others to do what you refuse. If you do, they always lead by example. Good people will follow, and some of them will become leaders too. Treat others with respect. Treat them as you wish to be treated yourself. If you do, they will return it. And be persistent. Never give up and achieve your goals. Once again, good people will follow you to the top. I'd like to give you 2 people as an example. These are 2 very different individuals that have applied their principles to their chosen fields. The first is retired Lieutenant General Hal Moore. Some of you recognize his name. He retired as a 3-star general in 1977. He served with over 32 years as active service. He was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the infantry in 1945, and he served and commanded at all levels from platoon through division. He's received numerous awards, such as the Combat Infantryman's Badge, the Distinguished Service Cross, and he became a Master Paratrooper. Hal Moore is best known for the Battle of Ia Drang. This was the first major battle of the American War in Vietnam. It was well detailed in his book in 1992, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, which was also made into a movie in 2002 entitled We Were Soldiers. The Battle of Ia Drang began November 1965, where 450 men of the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry, were dropped by helicopter into a small clearing in the Ia Drang Valley in South Vietnam. General Moore told his men, "My boots will be the first on the ground and the last to leave." Unbeknownst to Moore, more than 4,000 North Vietnamese soldiers were quickly surrounded this small unit. Encircled by enemy soldiers with no clear landing zone that would allow them to leave, Lieutenant Colonel Moore managed to persevere despite overwhelming odds. Moore's dictum that there is always one more thing you can do to increase your odds of success, and the perseverance and courage of his entire command are credited with the astonishing outcome. After retirement, Lieutenant General Moore became the Executive Vice President of the Crescent Butte Ski Area in Crescent Butte, Colorado for 4 years. He also has been a longtime warrior for ethical leadership and founded the National Endowment for the Public Trust in Atlanta, Georgia. This educational institution works to advance public trust and principled and just leadership in America. He is an active national speaker on leadership principles and values. General Moore further states, periodically detach yourself from the situation and ask, what am I doing that I should not be doing? And conversely, what should I be doing that I'm not doing now? He further says, trust your instincts. They are the sum total of all your experience, and they're usually right. Now I'd like to tell you about Patricia Brown. She's a woman entrepreneur. In 1970s in Anchorage, Alaska, there was an oil boom going on. The construction of the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline was the biggest engineering construction project undertaken to that time, requiring thousands of workers to move to Alaska. Patricia Brown, an independent, single woman with an entrepreneurial spirit, she started an oil fields services company. Wanting to be her own boss, she recruited like-minded, ambitious women to work for her in an all-female team. Ms. Brown worked 12 to 14-hour days alongside her associates doing the sometimes tedious and difficult work she required of them. She worked them hard, but treated them fairly, even supplied them with health services, which at that time in her industry were rare. She wanted to keep good people on her team, so she treated others with respect and fulfilled her contracts, always giving a little extra. She lived frugally and saved her money. She invested it when she could, always looking forward to retirement someday. Her ethics were impeccable as applied to her line of work. I'll give you just a brief example. My husband, Keith, was a police officer in Anchorage for 23 years. In a dark alley one night, he was ambushed by 3 assailants intending to disarm him. He literally was in a fight for his life. When Pat Brown, Hooker, and Madam saw the action, she wailed into the fray. A spike heel in each hand, she tore those boys up. Keith had arrested her for misdemeanor prostitution before, and she knew he would again. But she said, 3 against 1 just ain't fair. When she retired, she bought a fleet of dump trucks and leased them to a large sand and gravel company in Anchorage. She told Keith years later, when he saw her in the grocery store, "I hauled my behind around these streets for years, and now my trucks are hauling gravel to build new ones." Keith kissed her little gray head and thanked her again for saving his behind those 20 years before. So as you can see, leaders come in many different types and forms, but they all practice ethics, play by the rules, and treat people the way they want to be treated. They all have a want to drive to succeed, and most of all, they never give up. Thank you.